My testimony starts out with when I was born, I was baptized as a Catholic, and me and my family went to the Catholic Church for quite a while. I went throughout preschool, throughout kindergarten, even well into third grade, and it was just normal, routine Bible study taken on Sunday mornings, and parents really didn't get much out of it. I really didn't get much out of it, so I don't really consider that a time well spent with God. Uh, we went on, and the Catholic Church was just not a good situation. I learned later on that people were just harsh and cruel and just didn't care about if we were there or not, and that's just not a good situation. So my family stopped going. So we stopped going to the Catholic Church, and for a good 6, 7 years, we just stopped praying to God. We stopped going to church. We didn't have any communication with Him whatsoever, and I thought it was normal. I didn't think much of it, and I lived my life as a normal kid. Um, and then when I got into middle school, things were just bad. I was picked on a lot. I was tormented because of just the way I looked, the way I acted, and I started to conform to what people thought was okay and what was good about me. I didn't like what I was becoming. I didn't like what people were thinking about me. I just felt like I didn't have a friend in the world, and most of the time I didn't. But luckily, I had a friend who, during baseball season in between freshman and sophomore year, 8th grade and freshman year, he invited me and my family to church, and we started going. The first day that we went to church, it was incredible. I was fully immersed. Everybody was so nice. I really felt welcomed. A few of the key people who still stand out to me today are some of my closest friends, and one of them is actually my RA. I liked going to church, and I was happy that my family decided to keep going. I got baptized in between my freshman and my sophomore year, almost a year after we started going to church, and the following summer I went to a giant youth conference called CIY Move, and it changed my life. I've never worshipped like that before, and I've never grown closer to anybody before besides that. Again, I was just a normal Christian, and I just went and I lived my life. I did what I had thought was what we were supposed to do. And then going into junior year, we had a different summer camp. It was called Beach Trip, which my church actually put on. And we went, and it was a whole different experience than what I experienced at Moved. It was smaller, it was nicer, and it was more one-on-one related instead of group related. That was the summer where I really clicked, and I really got to know what being a Christian was about, what the real love of Jesus was, what I'm actually living for. That year I was on fire for God. I wanted to learn more. I craved more. I started going to youth group on a regular basis. I started getting into the leadership program at my church and wanting to help other kids like the kids before me helped me. And then going into senior year, we went and did Beach Trip again. And that summer was just completely different. It was a spiritual awakening unlike anything I've ever felt before. On one of the last nights there, I was on my knees in the back of the room just by myself. And I was praying, I was worshiping. It was just this rush of emotion. And out of nowhere, I feel this calming on my shoulder. My eyes are closed. There's no one around. And with my eyes still closed, I look over and I see this figure bathed in light. I have this all-encompassing feeling of love and calm rush over me in this weirdly outrageous time. And that night I was just ecstatic. I couldn't stop telling people what was going on. I was praying over people like crazy. I just had this rush that I needed to share with other people. And so, again, senior year was just a great year. I grew closer with God. I joined multiple different youth groups. I was so on fire for God that it was something that I couldn't put out. And then coming out of high school, graduation, and then going back to CIY and being in the college group there and just having a whole different experience again, it just rekindled it. And then coming to Jessup was an amazing experience. I've grown closer to God, and I love it.